physicists will say physics subsumes, and they'll say all the other sciences. But psychologists, like there's a better phrase in there. Psychology subsumes physicists. Like everything we're doing is running through all these systems that another science is trying to understand. So the way we study things, the way we understand things, the processes by which we try to figure out if exoplanets could possibly have life on them, those follow all of these other systems that are being studied by this other place. So it gets meta really quickly, and you have this nice recursion of mirrors things happening, and that just makes me bonkers. And so what I want to do to deliver to an audience is put all of this in terms that's easy to understand and make it fun and fascinating and help you feel what I feel, which is there is a why to everything. There's a why to why we behave. There's a why to why we feel. There's a why to why something is delicious or beautiful or tragic. There's a reason for the why we are the way we are. And I want to understand that as much as I think you would. And how about we put it into terms that are easier than what you might get from an Ivy Tower explanation. So that's my big, humongous why. And I just can't stop. I'm obsessed with this. I love it. I would do this I would be reading this stuff without you, but I want to tell you about it. I can't stop.
So your why is to figure out why our whys are our why. That's your why?
That's such a better way than I put it. That's perfect. Yes.
It's shorter, certainly. Okay. I believe that people who are fascinated with psychology are largely insane themselves. I mean,
Probably
they either
true.
had trauma in their childhood, or they're trying to figure out why their brain is the way that their brain is, because it doesn't feel like the way that other people's brain is. That's certainly why I'm fascinated with psychology. Is that why you're fascinated with psychology?
I think intellectual humility is part of it, right? All of us have got something going on. All of us could use some therapy, and all of us could use a whole lot of intellectual humility and better critical thinking skills. A lot of the people I've met in the world of psychology, they are like the rest of us trying to figure all this out and feeling weird about it. But they had some moment where they got very meta and self-reflective and were like, why do I do that? Mm-hmm. And there's no real easy answer to that question. And I very often find that is the case. Like there's some entry point, some crack that lets in the light, and then you start going down whatever path in psychology you want to explore the most. So there's a little truth to there for sure.
Okay, so if I could only ask you one question, this is the question I would ask you. Because I'm reading your book and I'm loving every word of it. And I'm noticing all the ways in which other people need this information. The idea of naive realism, I see it so much in others, right? The idea that I have unconscious bias is hard to grapple with, because I feel like I'm doing so much work on being self-aware. And I think a lot of people think that they do that. I can see where other people are not self-aware very clearly. It's very easy to pinpoint in other people. And yet I am likely doing it just as much as them, if not more than them.
Sure.
And I don't want to be. How do I become aware of my own biases, naive realism that shows up in all sorts of places in my life that I don't think that it is showing up?
Okay, there's a couple of good answers here. One of the things you have to understand as a foundational response to what you're asking is our best understanding. This falls under something called the interactionist model, is that we evolved two separate systems for communicating and making arguments and coming up with reasons. So whenever you are wondering why you have thought, felt, or done something, the full answer to your question is likely below the capabilities of your brain to investigate. They call that the introspection illusion. The actual reason for why you did something, the actual reason for why you want something, the actual reason for why you feel something, it's very easy to come up with an answer. It's very easy to come up with some sort of rationalization or explanation or justification. But those reasons are what we usually are satisfied with as reasoning, when really what you're doing is just coming up with the reasons for what you think, feel, and believe. And they're oftentimes not the actual reason. They're the thing that seems most plausible and defensible to another person, to someone in your most trusted peer group. And it's very likely that that is an adaptive response. We evolved to communicate in that way because we expected to offload our reasons to groups to others who would then tear it all apart.